letter to the person who danced with me at prom. I went to my junior prom alone because 1, I wanted the complete high school experience, but 2, I didn't have the friends to have the aforementioned high school experience with. I stood there at the edge of the dance floor with a few non-dancing couples and groups, watching others have fun, too shy to join in by myself. Then San Antonio's quintessential school dance song, Suavemente, starts playing, and everyone rushes to the dance floor. But I still stood at the edge, watching. And then you walked up next to me. You asked if I had ever danced to this song before. I told the truth and said no. Then you extended your hand to me, and with the hint of a smile, replied, "Come on, I'll show you." And we danced. Or rather, you danced, and I tried to follow along in vain for 5 minutes. When the song ended, we thanked each other and went our separate ways. That night, I went home and wrote our anecdote in my journal, a joyful bullet point in a rather dreary night. I never got your name, and now that it's been more than 6 years since junior prom, I don't remember your face either. But I still think about you a lot. I wonder how you are. I wonder if you'll remember me. I hope you'll remember me. I hope you're doing well. So, every once in a while, I'll compose a letter to the universe in the hopes that it bounces off of a star or a planet and comes back to you to let you know how truly grateful I am for those 5 minutes of kindness. Hello, it is currently 2:22 a.m. on August 1st, and I have a premonition that things will change very soon. So I need to record this first before anything else. I started writing these letters back in December of 2018. Since then, there have been many iterations of these letters. Some reveal too much, like incredibly specific and incriminating details that would make it clear who it was with enough knowledge of my life. I thought a lot about the odds that someone would see this and figure out that one of the letters was addressed to them or someone they knew, and how they might then confront me about it, and that made me fill up with complete dread. I've made that mistake before. It's not fun. I think there's a very important line between being vulnerable and open and honest in your personal art and letting private moments stay in the safety of shoddy memories. So, for the most part, I left out my life story. What remains are the feelings, terribly cringy thoughts, and only a few unusually specific moments. And to anyone who's a millennial or older, yes, I know I'm still young and that there's still a lot of life to live and experience, blah, blah, blah. But if I wait until that happens, then this will never be finished. It'll just swirl around in the ether perpetually, going through constant rewrites as my perspective changes. And I want to have something that I wrote come to some sort of fruition and conclusion. Consider this a time capsule of the Tina you see right here. 23, going on 24, 0 relationships, 1 date, and 2 people kissed. She won't be here forever. Oh, and some of you are probably guessing that there is a letter for you. Don't worry. Not everyone will get a letter. Otherwise, we'll be here for days. And for the most part, I only have good things to say. are the odds? What are the odds? What are the odds? I never imagined that I'd find myself in this situation, sitting across from you at the airport. I was so ready to just have it be a normal flight home. What are the odds our flights were near the same time? I spent the entire train ride there overthinking. How am I supposed to spend 2 to 3 hours with you? Somehow, we found a way, grabbing food and sitting down to chat. We had a really nice conversation, with topics beyond just what's happened in the past week. How we experienced life, old memories, drink recommendations. At one point, you asked what instrument I played in high school, and when I said clarinet, you replied right, and began apologizing for not remembering. I said it was fine, that I didn't expect people to remember every detail of my life. Perhaps I'm too used to people forgetting about or ignoring the things I say. Maybe that's why I try so hard to cling on to every detail I can. Because I know how it feels to repeat yourself over and over again. I never thought about that until now. About 30 minutes into our conversation, I realized that in other circumstances, this could be considered a date. I promptly tucked that idea away. Can't have myself breaking my own heart again. We walked around the airport a bit, and then you had to board your flight. That wasn't too bad. It was actually quite nice. We never really interacted much before that day, and the same goes for after. For all intents and purposes, nothing changed. Well, one thing did. The people I associate myself with don't like you very much, so I wired myself to not be a fan of you either. In my head, you had one personality trait. Being pretty. A backhanded compliment, if you ask me. Sorry. I don't see you like that anymore. How could I forget that people had depth and complexity beyond the scope of my observable world? How selfish of me. I think it was very kind of you to talk to the girl sitting alone at the kitchen table at a party. I appreciated how you tried to show me how to play the bass. I can't believe you were my first and only date. I'm astounded at how you got lost in downtown Chicago and left me to wander around in the snow in February to find you. I'm glad we could both feel it wasn't going to work out. I wonder if you knew that you reminded me too much of someone else, which scared me. I hope you still don't have my number. You're not gonna see this, right? Oh dear. I liked your freckles. I liked your eyebrows. I liked when you cut your hair to just below your chin before winter break. I liked your smile. I liked looking into your eyes. I wanted to get to know you better. I'm sad I didn't. I don't know how this came up in conversation, but my classmates were all sitting at the cafeteria table talking about their sexuality, and I had the comfort of sitting at the corner at the end of the long table, so I could safely stay out of the conversation while still listening. And then, dang it, I became a point of conversation. What's Tina's sexuality? I didn't want to say. Why? You know what? Tina is a unicorn princess. What? Oh. Yeah. Sure. That works. Crisis averted. Ask me again in like 5 years. That's now. Frick. I went to an art school in a major city. I don't think it's a surprise that many of my friends are LGBT. Sometimes they say things like, look at us, we're all gay here. And so I get lumped into that group, but I don't always know if that's accurate. Like, I don't think they're wrong, but I don't think they're necessarily right either. And it's not that I'm asexual either, because I definitely experience sexual attraction. Sometimes, though, I just don't want to be associated with people because people are gross. I feel like I don't match any labels, and I feel wrong for trying to claim one as my own, as if I stole something that wasn't mine to have. Ugh, I don't know. Ask me again in like 5 years. Okay. I think this specific memory will make it painfully obvious who it is, but only to the addressee. Besides, I think it sums up everything about who you were to me. At my last high school performance, I walked out into the hallway that barely passed as a lobby for the theater to find you there waiting for me, roses in hand. My classmates were equal parts excited and confused, but I knew why you did it. Throughout our friendship, I always went to see your shows, and whenever I did, I gave you origami tulips. It's about time you returned the favor. And you did say you were planning a surprise. We walked to my car and talked a bit about prom and graduation as the sun set. It was so much like a movie. At a time when my life was falling apart, you brought it back together, if only for 15 minutes. Did you know I had a crush on you for 3 years? I feel like you had to have known, since, like, a lot of people either knew or figured it out. Oh, God. I promise, I'm very much over it now. Don't worry. You're safe. There's a quote somewhere. I used to forget where it was from, but a rewrite has forced me to actually look it up. Unrequited love can be survived in a way that once requited love cannot. John Green. Because I was a teenage girl once. Of course. Thank you for including me in group conversations, for also being obsessed with musicals with me, for going along with all the antics I pulled. Thank you for being my rival in competitions, my co-star in plays, and my friend for 7 years. Before you were ever a romantic interest, you were a friend first. And I truly think it was better that way. If I told people that you read my journal, diary, in high school, they'd probably think it was an invasion of privacy and disrespectful. And, you know, they'd be kind of right. I think if you had tried to pull that with present-day me, it wouldn't slide. However, we're not talking about 23-year-old Tina. We're talking about junior year of high school, 16 going on 17-year-old Tina, who was very lonely and needed a friend. And she found that in you. Sure, I was initially mad when you read my journal, but At the same time, I was secretly hoping you would. Why else would I have carried that obnoxiously bright orange composition notebook around with me wherever I went? A few days later, after the first incident, you did it again. And again. This quickly turned into a routine of ours. Sometimes, I just flat out handed it to you. With every passing day and every new journal entry, you quickly became a confidant for every bit of melodrama in a typical teenager's life. And you never asked questions or laughed. You just understood. I poured my soul on those pages. I trusted you with everything I had. Is it any wonder I fell for you? I knew you for less than a year, but you had a major impact on me. So much so that even now, my journal entries will still be written to you, as if I'm going to hand you my journal in class again, and you're going to read through all the years of backlogs you've missed out on. I've even written actual letters to you, twice now, and you've yet to write back. I suppose this is letter number 3. You don't have to write back, but it would be nice. In the time after you graduated, and I became a senior myself, I found myself in the company of an underclassman. He didn't have many friends. He usually ate alone at lunch. And after band practice, I found myself listening to him lament about his life, and I do my best to offer advice. We didn't have many opportunities to talk after marching season ended. Months later, we bumped into each other coincidentally, and after a brief moment of awkward silence, he suddenly hugged me and thanked me for always listening to him. At that moment, I realized the weight of my small actions. And I thought about you. Is this how it felt? To be seen as some kind of hero when all you did was just the kind thing, the right thing? The only thing you did was read my journal, and I thought the world of you. I still think the world of you. I know I romanticize you to an impossible level. In fact, I don't think real life you could ever hold up to the person that lives in my head. You always did insist you were just a normal guy. Maybe I should have believed you more. My lift is here. Oh. It only took a silhouette of your side profile to get my mind going. You reminded me of a lot of people I once knew. As Stevie Wonder just calls to say I love you on the radio, I imagined all the ways this ride could go. We could strike up a conversation and start a new friendship, or something more. Oh no, here we go again. We could do all sorts of things together, walking in parks, going to museums, taking pictures. I'll even tolerate going to the beach for you. You could come see my shows, I could... Maybe you're a science major. I could help you study. Or maybe you're a young entrepreneur. I'd do my best to promote your business to my 400 followers on Instagram. I'd fix your cargo pants. It's not that I hate them, but a maroon polo shirt is not the right pairing. I think I'd like you. Would you like me? Or would we just end up hating each other? I hope not. You don't seem like that bad of a person. I think we'd get along really well, if only there was a push in the right direction. I glance over again. You have your earphones in, your head bowed towards your phone. It's not happening. I guess I'll just stare out the window in silence until I get home and lay down in the soft sheets of my bed before promptly asking myself, why am I like this? One time, we were sitting on the ground. You sat cross-legged. I sat to the right with my feet outstretched. You reached over and untied my shoe, just to mess with me. I made a face. You know, one of those faces you make to indicate you're displeased, but not actually mad. You then took my foot, moved it so that my calf rested on your knee, and began to retie it. Some people experience their strongest memories through sounds, or smells, or sights. My memory works best with touch. And here's the kicker. I usually don't have physical contact very much. So any instance of touch is going to be ingrained into my mind. Someone kissed me on the cheek 6 years ago, and I remember it was right here. Because they did it so fast, they almost missed. Every time I think about having physical intimacy, a wave of anxiety comes over me. Even sitting next to people makes me panic, although I'm not sure if that was because of the pandemic. My first few months in Chicago, someone offered to be my first kiss in the city. I did the smart thing and declined. The story of that night is for another time. At that point in my life, it had been about 6 months since I last kissed someone. One time for a show, the director wanted a moment of intimacy where another character and I kissed, but I couldn't do it. And it wasn't that kind of thing where I didn't want my first kiss to be a stage kiss. That was already done and dealt with. I just hadn't had that kind of intimacy in a while, and it made me too nervous. We ended up doing something else that worked better for the show. At that point in my life, it had been 3 years. It's 5 now. I think the more time that passes, the more dread comes with when that streak will be broken. I'm not sure what I'll do then. You finish tying my shoe, gently returning it to where it lay before. Hey, so this next section includes discussion of sexual harassment, so if that's something you're not comfortable with for any reason, by all means, feel free to skip ahead to the next piece. Last call. Yeah, so I know what it's called now, but back then I didn't. Not really. Back then, I only knew that I felt very uncomfortable, just from reading a few text messages. I don't even understand why my classmate would even tell me. To my fault, I insisted that he tell me because he said that I became a point of conversation. How was I supposed to know it would be that? I remember asking if the question that was proposed and the answers everyone gave were supposed to be a good thing or not. I'm inclined to just leave it at that is just a shitty situation in general. That conversation should not have been had, and he should not have told you. He had a crush on me on and off for years. Whenever he messaged me, he'd always call me bae, despite my attempts to tell him I didn't like it when he did that. When the point finally came across, it became not bae. There was a period of time where he would sneak pictures of me in class or rehearsal and put it on a Snapchat story. Oh, that's going to date this segment. He even recruited other people to basically ambush me with a phone camera at lunch. I used to keep count. I don't remember what that number ended up being. I didn't really realize, until recently, how uncomfortable and paranoid I felt in a place that was supposed to be safe. Even after he left the theater program, there were others. I knew their answers to the question. I almost forgot that all this happened. Then the pandemic forced me to return home, and surrounded by the time capsule that is my childhood bedroom, those memories came back. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. The last time I saw you was at my high school graduation. The ceremony itself had ended, and everyone was on their phones, either taking pictures or trying to locate each other. I was with my family, holding a massive bouquet of pink lilies. At my feet, light-up signs lay scattered about, reading, "We love you," and "Follow your dream." As my cousin motioned for my uncles and aunts to scoot in closer to frame, I saw you. You were looking for someone. Your family? Your friends? Her? I took a mental snapshot of you at the same time my cousin took the photo of me. And then you disappeared into the crowd forever. You probably didn't see me, but I saw you. I always see you. I don't enjoy the fact that you take up so much emotional real estate. And I especially don't enjoy the fact that it took me 4 years to figure out what I would even say to you. 5, if you count the rewrites. Even then, I'm still not certain. Sometimes I'll see your username on Instagram because you're somehow consistently the first person to like my pictures, and I'll feel my lungs wanting to hurl out of my chest. It's gotten better over time. I didn't believe them when they said time heals all wounds, but alas. I used to imagine that one day we'd talk, like actually talk, separated by time and distance and emotions. But what would be said? I'm not too concerned with the inner workings of your current life, as I'm sure you aren't with mine. Any talk about what happened then would be pointless. What would you do? Actually tell the truth and apologize after 5 years? I already figured out what happened, and what use is an apology now? It's not like I'm going to frame it on the fridge to show the world. I finally got it. I think it would be better if you held on to it. Save it for another time in the future, because God knows we're going to keep making mistakes. And when that happens, use it then. But don't wait for weeks, or months, or years. Be prompt about it and be honest. If you're able to do that, I'll consider forgiving you. I'm sorry. I really, truly am. I'm sorry things ended the way they did. I think we both could have been better friends. I could have been more gentle. You could have been less objective. Remember when things weren't absolutely terrible? We used to hang out so much. I remember at one point I imagined a possible future where we were roommates sharing an apartment. And I live alone now, so you can see how much I really liked your company. After what I thought was going to be a normal night, but clearly wasn't, panicked by the proposal you offered to me, I did what I always do. The only thing I can do. I wrote you a letter. It started off rational, but I'll admit it ended with a vindictive note. I still think that part is true. Why would I be in a relationship with someone who thought of me that way? I could have been nicer about it. Do you think we'd still be in each other's lives if I were nicer about it? In the weeks, months, years after I gave you the letter, I saw you on campus, and for some reason, I always saw you. But I could never bring myself to say anything. I'm sorry it ended this way. Sometimes I wish it didn't. Sometimes I wish that every relationship we have in life could either last forever or wrap up with a neat, tidy bow. A silent moment in a conversation as you watch the sunset. I hope this moment doesn't haunt you as much as it does me. The ghosts of my mistakes don't go away, and they seem to show up at every given opportunity. Recently, I won't say when specifically I wrote this because I'm not going to expose myself like that. I developed feelings for someone again. And I convinced myself that it wouldn't work out for a variety of reasons. But there was this tiny little engine in me that continued to operate at max capacity. What if that conversation we had was trying to be something more? Why did they tack on that question to the end of their thought? Just what does this particular sequence of messages mean? Is life interfering with legitimate attempts to get to know me better, or am I just imagining it? Am I just projecting years of being a hopeless romantic onto this person? Why is this starting off almost exactly like it did last time? Why isn't it crashing and burning to the ground like it always does? This isn't like other times. There's a feeling of dread that's coming along for the ride now. Waves of anxiety when I forget how to breathe or barely function normally. I've been so used to having feelings and having them just exist in my head and letting them dissipate into the void in a few weeks or months or whatever. But when there's a chance it's not just me who feels like this, even if I'm just diluting it. What happens when things work out? A letter to all the people I thought I loved. Oh, yikes. I'm sorry. I definitely made things weird. It's not like I intended to. My brain is hardwired on romantic comedies and Disney movies where everything can be resolved in the last 15 minutes. But life isn't like that. Yes, I'm well aware. I am coming to terms with the fact that while I am the protagonist, I am not the screenwriter. Chances are, you probably had no idea I dragged you into the abyss of my mind. You were probably just being your normal self, which probably includes being nice to people around you. Nothing wrong with that, you might say. But that thought right there was your folly. For some atypical part of me has associated being nice with being in love. Bonus points if you have an accent and or musical abilities. So I end up creating fantastic scenarios in my head, cinematically well-timed and with zero stutters from me. The dialogue itself is hazy, but the given circumstances are oddly specific, set to whatever planned event we're both attending out of obligation. Somehow we get to a place where it's just you and me, and then... I try my best to make these visions real. I wear my brightest colors with matching eyeshadow in the hopes that you'll look over at me and... notice me? The objective isn't quite clear. Like an actor, I try to time my entrances and exits. I hang on to every word you say as if there's going to be a pop quiz on it later. I listen to music constantly, trying to make it underscore the scene properly. I find myself using the same lines over and over again. The ending is always the same, though. I find myself often thinking about the phrase, "Nothing ever happens the way I imagine it." A variation on John Green, obviously. And yet, every time you come around, I end up forgetting. I keep thinking that maybe this time it'll actually happen the way I imagine it. And then, when it doesn't, I end up breaking my own heart, without you ever realizing. In most of these situations, you probably never knew that I loved you. In a lot of these situations, they are probably done and over with by the time life sent us our separate ways. Or even within the week. Oh, all this drama and anguish I caused myself. And for what? Some fun banter? A fond memory or two? A lot of heartache? I think I was really, truly in love once. I remember how it felt. But it's so far away now that it's just a fuzzy silhouette of a person. And if I tilt my head and look over the top of my glasses, I see a way that you could fill the void. I'm sorry I did that to you. Of course, you're more than my perception of you. You have your own life, your own dreams, your own people you think you love. How selfish of me to think the world revolves around me. I hope you can forgive me for my transgressions. When I started writing these letters 3 years ago, you were the first person I thought of. And ironically, your letter has the most drafts. I always struggle to figure out a concise ending. To be fair, there's too many of you, and too many different endings to our stories. How could I wrap all of them up into one letter? Perhaps that was a bit ambitious of me. I think a part of me will always love you. Sometimes I'll see a picture of you, or something will remind me of something else, and I'll feel a tug at my heart and a smile on my lips. Look at what you've done to me. I've changed because of you. I used to think that I had to let you go in order to be happy, but here I am thinking of you and feeling good, at peace. And so, as I send this letter out into the universe and onto the internet, I hope you feel the same way about me. That I had some impact on you. And that when you think of me, you'll smile to yourself as well. So many cicadas, my god. I graduated college in December of 2019, but I had intended to walk the stage in spring of 2020, since that's when most of my other peers would also be graduating. I think we can figure out what happened next without me having to explain it in length. So, my friends and I held a mini ceremony over video chat, and I encouraged people to write small speeches. Not everyone did. No big deal. It's not like it was a school assignment or anything, just a fun activity. Here is a segment of what I wrote. According to Wikipedia, the butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one state of a deterministic nonlinear system can result in large differences in a later state. The day Will and Maggie invited me to join them for board games at the flats after convocation, I had originally planned to go to some movie debate event on campus and then go back to my dorm. Instead, I found a group of people I could hang out with every Saturday, some of whom became my roommates, others who became my best friend, and even my nemesis. My friends were the primary force behind me getting and dropping a directing minor, and as a result, discovering my skills in stage management and dramaturgy, and somehow sword fighting also got thrown into the mix. And in the same way the flap of a butterfly's wings can create a hurricane, a kind gesture on September 2nd, 2016 created a new world for me to reside in, one far away from the home I knew that liked to put me in a box and tuck me away in the attic. So here we are now, in what most certainly has to be the strangest timeline. I look back on the past 4 years, and while I see the mistakes and the arguments and the tears, I also see the joy and the stupid inside jokes and the love that transcends the physical distance between us right now. And I feel loved. Really, truly loved. I find that life never goes the exact way I planned it, no matter how hard I try. But at this moment, I'm kind of glad it didn't. A letter to 15-year-old Tina. Every year, on June 1st, you email a letter 1 year into the future. And every year on June 1st, I forget that you did that. Usually you ask about how things are 1 year later, like if I cut my hair. Yes. Or if I'm still single. Also, yes. I always found it unfair how you could send stuff forward, but I couldn't send anything back, lest we break the space-time continuum. Consider this my best attempt to do so. I wish I could tell you everything I know now. If I could, maybe the future wouldn't be so terrifying. I know right now it feels like the rest of your life hinges on every breathing moment, and any mistake you make will follow you for as long as you live, but spoiler alert, most of it won't matter in 4 years. You're thinking about whether or not you should quit band, and to be honest, you should. It's causing you a lot of grief. But you're going to push through and graduate as the only person who did both band and theater at the same time. Sorry. You're obsessed with your classmates and the interpersonal drama, while you silently observe and compare yourself to Horatio, who's still standing when the play is done. But you're not going to talk to any of them again by the time you're 20, so for your sake, let them go. You're writing in a journal right now. You're going to do it every day for 3 years straight, and then you're going to quit for a year or 2. I'm trying to get back in the habit. You are so good at remembering everything, while I can't remember what I had for breakfast. It's okay if your first kiss ends up being a stage kiss. I'm telling you right now it ended up being a real one, but I think it would save you a lot of heartache if it wasn't. You're about to meet someone wonderful. You'll trust him with everything you have. You'll have a year full of memories and only one picture to prove you once existed in the same space. I wish you had taken more. Some rough times are going to happen during your senior year. Like almost world-shattering stuff. Be kind to your classmates, and remember that bad people can still do good things. Be brave when everyone is arguing about who's at fault. You're not going to be salutatorian, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. You're going to hate yourself for a very long time, and I wish you didn't. You have so much love to give and receive, and it starts with knowing that you are worthy of it. You are beautiful, even with the acne scars you keep picking at, and the poorly drawn eyeliner wings and questionable hair dye choices. You're smart, clever, funny, talented, kind. All the wonderful things you call your friends apply to you too, even if it takes a while for some of the traits to grow in. The awkwardness still persists, but there's charm to come with it. The quiet demeanor instilled in you by your peers goes away. There's just a bit more zaniness. The cloudy brain lets up every once in a while. I think you'd be astounded at the person you're going to be. She's far from perfect. She still has trouble making coherent sentences when she's flustered. She needs therapy, but is still procrastinating. She's very mean to herself when she doesn't have to be. And she messes up. A lot. But she's in Chicago. She's doing what we wanted to do since we were 10. And she has some wonderful friends. I know you so desperately want to see what it's like here in the future, but it takes time, and unfortunately, all you can do is wait it out. So, 15-year-old Tina, my darling, until I can welcome you with the open, loving arms that you've wanted for so long, I will simply ask you to wait for me.